Hello everyone, and welcome to the Build a Bot tutorial. In this ChatFlow tutorial, we will walk through the process of building a bot from start to finish. In addition, we will introduce NLU, ChatFlow's Natural Language Understanding Companion Program. By the end of this tutorial, you will be able to create a new project from scratch, configure enter and state nodes, create an NLU application, and configure the NLU node in ChatFlow. Let's begin. Click on Create a New App to start creating a new ChatFlow application. Under the Start with a Clean Project section, enter your project's name and then hit Create. Your bot will appear in the app list. Click on its name to enter the editor. Once the page loads, you will have an empty canvas. Drag in the Chat In and Chat Out nodes onto your canvas. The Chat In and Chat Out nodes will allow us to interact with our bot through the Chat tab, located on the left side of the screen. Drag a router onto the empty canvas. The router will determine which branch in our flow the app will execute. Connect the Chat In, Router, and Chat Out nodes like so. Besides the router, we're going to need two other nodes from the dialog section of the node library, the Enter node and the State node. Enter nodes contain the conditions that specify when a specific branch will activate. State nodes are used to define what the bot will say. First, add an Enter node to the canvas. Then, double-click the Enter node to edit. In this pop-up, name the node. Below the name field is the Router Selection Condition section. Remove the condition by clicking on the X to the right of the condition. Check the box towards the bottom of the pop-up that says Initial State. This will tell the router that this Enter node is the first Enter node of the flow. Drag a State node onto the canvas to the right of the Enter node. Link the Enter node and the State node together. Click on the gray dot to the right of the Enter node. Drag the resulting wire to the left gray dot of the State node. Double-click on the State node. Name it Initialize State. Below the name field, you will find a code editor. In the code editor, create a single variable called count that will keep track of how many times our bot has asked the user for a lunch. In addition, each ChatFlow user-defined variable inside MSG will be prefixed by kit. Our variable in this case is msg.kick.count. The code associated with the state node should end with return message. Otherwise, no message will be outputted, halting the conversation. Once the code has been entered, select the Request User Input after this node option. The bot will wait for the user's response before proceeding. In the output text field, input, "Hello, will you please buy me lunch?" Output text is outputted whenever the state node is activated. When you are ready, click Deploy. Now, open the Chat tab. Enter Hello into the input field at the bottom of the screen. You should see the system output message from the state node's initialized state. Further input to this agent doesn't do anything, since the system has nothing else to say. So, let's now give the agent the ability to handle yes and no answers from the user. Go back to your canvas, add an Enter node and a State node. Connect them as you did before. Edit the Enter node. Name it and set its condition to msg.payload equals no. This simply checks if the user input to the router coming from the Chat In node is no. By convention, the main outputs of the node are placed into payload. So, we can access the user input coming from Chat In the value of message.payload. Edit the new state node. Name it Ask Again and add the following lines of code into its body. In the output text field, enter, "I must insist. Will you reconsider?" Now that our system understands no, let's add another Enter node and another State node to handle yes. Name the Enter node and add an entrance condition, message.payload equals yes. Name the attached State node Thank User. Don't change the body of the code. In the output text field, enter "Thank you," the number of times I ask, open bracket, kit.count, close bracket, close bracket. When the system reaches this node, it will thank the user and state how many times the system asks the user for lunch, which is stored in the user-defined variable count. Check the box that says Dialog ends here to tell the system that the conversation is over once we reach this state. Click Deploy and head to the Chat tab. You should now be able to have a simple conversation with the bot. The system only understands yes and no, because we only included case-sensitive tests for yes and no. If we say anything else, the agent will not respond. We can easily create an enter node that handles all other input strings. Add an enter node and a state node to the canvas. Link them together as you did before. Edit the enter node and add the following entrance conditions. Message.payload is not null. Message.payload does not equal no. Message.payload does not equal yes. In the new state node, leave the code as it is, and add the following text into the output field. Sorry, I did not understand what you said. I only understand yes and no. Now, your bot will always have something to say. Click Deploy and try it out. Currently, our bot can only handle a few cases and doesn't have real understanding of natural language. To deal with natural language input, we will use a natural language understanding node, or, simply put, an NLU node. The NLU node will map utterances to a finite set of intents and entities, which we can then use in our enter nodes as the basis for our selection criteria. Insert the NLU node between the chat-in node and the router node. Go to NLU, create a new app, and name the application. In the app, click on Setup Intents to expand the Setup Intents dropdown. Click on Add Intent. Name the new intent Positive Responses and click Create. Under Examples of Use, add a few examples of positive responses. Some examples are yes, sure, of course, you bet, and it would be my honor. When finished, click on the red X at the top right of the window. Click on Add Intent again. This time, we're going to create one for negative responses. Under Example of Use, input the following strings. No, no way, Jose, never, I shall not, and we are not amused. Once you have finished adding the positive response and negative response intents, click Deploy. Test your model in the Train Model section. Input a sentence and click Analyze. Once it has completed, check the result. You can correct it by clicking on the blue button and selecting the correct response. When finished, click Submit. Let's fully deploy this bad boy. Click on Show Apps in the upper left-hand corner to go back to the NLU app list. In your newly created apps bubble, click on Deployment Information. Copy the deployment URL onto your clipboard. Back in ChatFlow, double-click the NLU node. In the URL field, paste the deployment URL. At the end of the URL you just pasted, add open bracket, open bracket, open bracket, payload, close bracket, close bracket, close bracket. We now have NLU configured for our bot. However, we are currently not using this information within our bot. In order to do so, we must reconfigure our yes and no enter nodes. Edit the yes node. Under the entrance conditions, remove the msg.payload equals yes condition. Add a new condition, msg.nlu.intent equals positive response. The NLU runs a query to the NLU app, inputting the payload from the chat-in node. Then, it maps it to an intent, storing the intent information in msg.nlu.intent. Edit the no node. Under the entrant condition section, remove the msg.payload equals no condition, and add a new condition, msg.nlu.intent equals negative response. Go to your default node. Replace the msg.payload does not equal yes and msg.payload does not equal no conditions with msg.nlu.intent does not equal positive response and msg.nlu.intent does not equal negative response. And with that, click Deploy and your application is ready to go. Thanks for watching.